A glen is defined as a narrow valley. For decades, a small town at the south end of Seneca Lake in New York State sat quietly next to a spectacular geological formation, giving the town the name Watkins Glen. Quiet this town stays, except for a few weekends a year. A few miles up the road, there's a racetrack with international fame. It's hosted Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, Grand Am, and SCCA races. And this track bears the same name as the town, which hosted street races decades before. Watkins Glen International is one of the great American road courses, built in a time when pavement was just laid on top of the land. It follows the natural flow, climbing steep inclines, dropping down into valleys, and streaking across the Finger Lakes region countryside. It's changed a bit since its construction in the 1950s, with the relocation of the start line and pit road, and the addition of two new sections, the Boot in 1971 and the Inner Loop in 1992. Since then, it's become an American motorsports icon. Known for its high speeds and narrow S's, it was referred to as the super speedway of road courses by many drivers. Its sky blue Armco walls have become a symbol of this place. Over the years, Watkins Glen has seen safety improvements, including asphalt runoff in several corners, relocating some walls, and adding curbing. In the 2015 off-season, it was repaved, making it smoother and even faster. But like the valley for which it is named, it remains a challenge for every driver who pulls out on course. For the people who cherish these hallowed grounds, it's not just a Glen, it's the Glen. Watkins Glen.
I don't know that we'll see a pass here as they go around deep dive on the brakes. Here comes the 680 to the inside.
By 7 on the second. I can't believe what we just saw.
The Finger Lakes region of upstate New York is a picturesque landscape with local wineries, restaurants, lakes, and beaches. For most of the year, these towns are quiet refuge for the local people. In a town named Watkins Glen, only 1,800 folks live nearby. Just up the road, Watkins Glen International sits, awaiting the thunderous roar of motor racing. Tonight, the three-wide Racing League Grand National Series heads to Watkins Glen International for the second race of the chase. We go left and right for 60 minutes tonight. Welcome to SimTV. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney and DeCuna as we take on our home track here in upstate New York. Watkins Glen, a 7-turn, 2.4-mile super speedway of road courses, Finney, and I always look forward to coming here and watching these drivers whip between the blue Armco left and right, back and forth, up and down. It's a great racetrack, and we're on board for 60 minutes of racing action this evening.
Yeah, dude, really looking forward to seeing how this plays up, if we can see any big shakeups in the playoffs. I mean, I think we would have probably definitely seen a shakeup had Nikon and Delicato finished well last week at Richmond. Unfortunately, big mistake in the turn one, ended up hitting the wall and retiring very early on in the race. He's way out of the points, but even then, points picture aside, is definitely looking like the favorite to win here tonight.
See, Watkins Glen International, the racetrack built in 1958, was the host of the first post-World War II automobile race in the United States, so a lot of history at this racetrack. Qualifying underway right now. You can see there 2.45 miles of racing. Again, the drivers lit up in blue on the left-hand side of the screen. Those are your chase competitors, and Nick and Delicato has to be the favorite coming into the night, Finian. In the number 51 car, we were at a road course not too long ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and he finished second there and swept our other road courses at Lime Rock Park earlier in the year.
Yeah, exactly. He's on the best out of all the drivers on the road course. This is the most consistent there, so we'll see if he can get it done tonight. Again, going to be the man to beat. However, you make a mistake, that's very easily going to take you out of it. So, and again, a lot of things can happen, especially over the course of 1 hour.
Well, take a look at the track temp, 108 degrees, so it's pretty toasty out there. That's going to mean that the track will be very slick as well. Finney, let's take a moment to just have a look at the racetrack here in just a second, and take me through a lap here of Watkins Glen, starting with our run down the front straight into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a very big passing opportunity for a lot of drivers heading down into turn 1. And as you head down into the turn effectually called the 90, got to make sure you got a good exit, because that's going to set you up for going nearly full throttle through turns 2, and then the S's back right, then left, then right again. And on the opening lap, you got to be careful. We've seen time and time again a lot of incidents occur there. And then from there, you head to the inner loop.
Into the inner loop, a right, left, left, right combination. A great passing opportunity, but it's narrow, so you can't really run side by side through there. Then it's a downhill through turn number 5, get the car tidied up, and late apex turn number 5, a run down to 6 and 7. A left, right sweeper combination to end the lap. All very important corners around here, setting you up for long straightaways here. There are several of them around this racetrack. And Finney, I think one of the key concepts about this place is really getting the 90 right, getting that run up the uphill, and also making sure that you get a solid run through the inner loop, because that's another good passing zone.
Absolutely. And completing a lap at Watkins Glen currently. Let's go back to qualifying in Delicato. Not surprisingly, up on top of the timesheets, significantly ahead of next place Justin Kolb in the 52. That's a gap looking at about almost 6 to 7 tenths.
Here comes Chad Frankenfield out of turn number 7 across the start-finish line to complete his first qualifying lap, and this will be the only lap that he gets. It's a 1:14.465, good enough for P3. Another driver, Matt Gruber, on the back straightaway now, heading up to turn number 6, but you see no sector time there, so he is actually not going to score a qualifying lap. He'll start from the tail of the field, as he has done quite a bit this season, so no surprises there. Kevin Finn still on track, as is Matt Hacketthorn. Finn only down in turn 1, so he won't get to finish the lap. Hacketthorn, however, is in turn 6, going to run wide and dirty that lap. That would have been a pretty solid lap time for him, but he'll dirty it at the very end there and have to call it quits.
Yeah, absolutely, and trying to see if we see any more surprises up there. James Miller, the 09, can't quite count him out. He's decently fast at these road courses, currently sitting in second, only a few tenths off of Delicato's time.
Well, you think back to the Super Late Model Series that was not here too long ago, and it was James Miller that just went out and absolutely destroyed everybody in that event, and I think we'd be on par to see something like that tonight. But Nick and Delicato is really the wild card for James Miller. He's going to have to work really hard. Big slip out of turn number 7 into the pit wall on the front straight, and as qualifying completes, it'll be Delicato and Miller on the front row for our 60-minute race tonight. Again, done by time here, Finney. Does that change your mindset as a driver, or is it pretty much the same thing? Are you just more focused on the laps that you're running?
I think, if anything, it might be a bit distracting because you don't have a fixed amount of laps. And again, if you don't normally run series, typically sports car racing, if you don't run in series that have a time limit rather than a lap limit, especially when you're trying to, crunch fuel numbers, although these guys, I think, more or less are going to have to just make one stop, it kind of, distracts you a bit in some places. You're trying to figure out how many laps you actually have to go in this race. I mean, some guys have definitely probably done the math. Some might not have. So it's kind of one of those factors that might catch these guys off guard.
So, gritting up for the race this afternoon. We'll head down to the racetrack here in just a minute. Let's go through our weather one more time. Take a look at the track temperature, Finney, at 107 degrees with an air temp of 78, and it's kind of midday here. I don't really think that track temp's going to fall. It's going to be very slick for these drivers, especially down into the 90. We talked about this corner as being a very important one for making a lap, but it sets you up for the long run down the back straightaway. There will be a lift at the bottom of turn 2 before you run up the hill to get your car set. But again, the 90, very important. Let's run through our starting lineup here, Finney. On the front row tonight, it's going to be Delicato in the 51, and on the outside of the front row, James Miller in the 09.
Yeah, looking on back, still some fast drivers in behind. Chad Framefield lined up in the 15 in position 3. In 4th next to him, Justin Kolb in the 52.
In row number 3, Nick Boyd's going to start on the inside in the 74 car. Outside, 77, Drew Eisenmann.
Back in behind them in the 06, Jeffrey Fisher lined up in 7th place. Next to him, Richard Hines in 8th in the 87 car.
In 9th place, Race Clark on the inside of row number 5 in his number 22. Nathan Velez rolls off 10th in his 48 car.
Back in 11, you find Tanner Sharp in the 3. Has not been a really good late season for him. Hasn't really been up in the front as much as he would have liked. Alex Boy next to him in 12th.
13th, Michael Goodman in the 44, and 14th, Matt Groomer in the 54 car in row number 7.
Then we go back to Levi Zielinski in the 97, starting 15. Next to him, Corey Lindsey in the 00 in 16th.
17th place, Sam Close, the number 5. Matt Hacketthorn starts 18th in his number 84.
Brent Miller is going to be lining up in 19th in the 89 car. Next to him, 94 of Brent Klusters in 20th.
Looks like we're running out of drivers here, but Nick Miller in the 21st position in the number 9, and Frank Sims starts 22nd, the 75. And that will leave just Kevin Finn on the last row as we head up through the S's. A high-speed, high-danger zone here as well, especially right here at the top of the hill. The car gets light. The Armco is only feet from the racing line.
And again, this is going to be very hair-raising on the opening lap. Again, these guys should have enough grip to make it through there okay, but you never know. It just takes one mistake for a driver, especially up in the front of the field, to make things go awry. And if things do go awry in front of you, well, you got to, say a prayer and just hope that you make it on through.
Live timing available at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing. You can follow along in real time. Get timing and scoring and other statistics on all these drivers as we gear up for our 60-minute adventure here from Watkins Glen, New York. As we head through the carousel section now, this is really just a corner that I really enjoy because you can take it so many different ways. You can run it high, you can run it low, you can late apex, mid apex, keep it tight all the way around. It's a very unique corner in that there's not one way to take it, Vinny, and I think there's a lot of experimentation that drivers will find, especially on worn-out tires later in the race.
Yeah, and again, as you're just saying, you can take it a million different ways, and it all is situational. Depends on, if you're side by side, if you're trying to get a run on the driver ahead of you, or if you're trying to defend. And it's a great corner in that respect because it gives you a lot of options, especially heading down this next straightaway.
23 drivers lined up for our second race in the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division Chase. James Miller won this race in the Super Late Models a couple months ago. He's got Delicato, who has the best average finish on road courses so far this year, to his inside on pole as we work our way through turn number 7 onto the front straight now. Pace car going to make the hard right-hand corner. Head to pit lane. Green flag in the air, racing at Watkins Glen for 1 hour in the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division. So far, so good as the field starts to thin themselves out. You're still 2 wide in the back of the pack, side by side. Here comes Frankenfield up the inside as they head up the hill for the first time.
Yeah, very sketchy up the hill for some guys side by side. James Miller almost got a piece of the wall as he was side by side with Frankfield. They're going to sort it out. Ooh, the 52 Kolb sideways as they come out of the S's. He's able to gather it back up, and here comes a 74 Boyd who clears him before they get to the bus stop.
Race Clark, a big send up the inside on Jeffrey Fisher. Gets slowed down so he doesn't run into the back of Drew Eisenmann, but he moves himself up into 7th place as they now bounce through the bus stop for the first time. Behind them, a little bit of side-by-side action. Car through the grass, and that, I believe, is Kevin Finn's... Oh, no, excuse me, that's a 94. Kluster who's gone around, or at least has gone through the grass.
Yeah, just locked up the brakes on the entry into the bus stop and had just took the safe route, just cut the bus stop in general. But you're looking at our leader, and Delicato already starting to eke out a lead, half a second ahead of Chad Framefield.
Chad Frankfield's not too shabby on the road courses either, so I wouldn't count him out. 58 minutes to go. Laps here just over a minute and 12 seconds. That's going to mean we're going to want about 50 laps of racing here this evening as we head down into turn 1 for the second time. Back in the background, you see Sam Close going defensive. There's Matt Gruber right behind.
Dive for Sam close to the insider. Tanner Sharp looks like he's going to get the spot in turn 1, and Matt Gruber is going to do 2 for 1 to the inside to get past Tanner Sharp before they go up the hill.
Oh, the 3-car slow into turn number 2, and looks like Levi Zielinski is going to sneak up the outside lane and grab that spot. That's for 13th. Meanwhile, for 5th place, Justin Kolb has looked like the 77 Eisenmann to his inside as they enter the bus stop real tight there for a moment, but they've gotten it sorted back out.
Clarko's line a little bit compromised, a little bit slow through there. He's going to have to try to catch back up to the 77, but Eisenmann, speaking of which, catching up to Justin Kolb was not off to a particularly great start here.
Oh, Frank Sims in a really weird spot on the racetrack to have an issue. This is at the top of the S's here. Let's go back and see if we can find out what happened. Just was already offline, finishing the track's greasy out there. Just looped it. Didn't hit anything, though.
Yeah, just got sideways on there. It's a miracle, actually, that he didn't hit anything. It's so easy to hit the walls being so close to the track, but it's going to still continue on.
Already 2 laps complete. Race leader in Delicato was just a hair faster than Chad Framefield last time through. They come through turn number 1.
Yeah, so definitely seeing that Frankfield's not out of the picture. Same thing with James Miller keeping the leader, Nikon Delicato, honest. As you look at Kevin Finn trying to outbreak the 10. And that is Alex Boyd in that 10 car at 17th.
Now Hacketthorn runs a little wide on corner exit. Up the inside comes Kevin Finn. He'll put himself into 15th with that maneuver. Behind them, Brent Miller and Brandon Kluster, who's trading positions again. That's 20th and 21st exchanging hands. Look at Chad Framefield closing in this time through the bus stop. Big bounces over the curbs. And had to close in on Delicato, but look at the run that the 51 gets on corner exit through there. He's prioritizing the exit of that corner. I think that's the important place to be fast.
Yeah, it really is, because you want to carry more speed through the carousel and just get there first. If you really charge the bus up too much, it can definitely hold you up quite a bit, and also opens up to an opportunity getting past. As you see James Miller in the 09 getting really close to back bumper the 15.
And he was right on top of the 15 car through turn number 6. And somehow they didn't get together as they come out of the final corner and come across the start-finish line. A little bit of grass for the 09. Kevin Finn, real slow. I wonder if he's off in turn 6. I see some tire marks. Back and see what happened to him. He just understeered off.
Oh, yeah, that's such an easy place to do that. Did a great job, though, getting the car back on track. A lot of guys on him going flying out wide, so he got back on pretty quickly.
Back up to the front, we really have a 3-horse race at the moment in Delicato, Frankenfield, and James Miller. And all of them, I think, are capable of winning this race, but the wild card, I see Nick Boyd in the 74 lurking in the background. He's a little bit off pace from these leaders, but last time through was slightly quicker as they all fought together.
Yeah, and this is, I'm trying to look, he is actually a pretty decent road course driver, did pretty well at Montreal, qualified in 5th and finished in 5th place. So again, kind of showing his strength here after qualifying in 5th. He's currently running in 4th.
Well, Corey Lindsey has had trouble on the back straightaway in a very similar spot to what we saw with Frank Sims a few moments ago. And this was, he just runs wide. And this reminds me a lot of what we saw with Jeff Gordon here in the real world in 2013. Just ran wide. You see how the grass tapers back to the white line, and that caught Corey Lindsey out. Some slight wall contact there, but he should be able to get that car repaired and back rolling. Yeah,
and again, so this is the second driver we've seen get loose on the exit of the exit. So again, for a lot of these drivers, got to be careful. It's only going to get worse as this run goes on.
Oh, it looks like Frankfield is beginning to hold up Miller slightly as they climb up the hill. And this is really just a rhythm section here. See Frankfield kind of throwing the car back and forth, and that's not quite as smooth as the trailing car. And that's left Miller with a great run down the back straightaway here.
Here he is going to try to have a move to the inside into the bus stop. Who's going to give?
Oh, they touch!
See Miller deep on the brakes and a little bit of contact as they enter, but Miller aggressively in a big spot.
They both take each other out, and that's big damage for Chad Frankenfield. James Miller is going to back up onto the racing surface, and that's drama there. Those two front runners, 2nd and 3rd place, getting together.
Yeah, that was interesting.
One has to wonder, was this retaliation maybe for the initial contact? Here's the onboard of Frankenfield. And maybe he felt like he got used up a little bit and decided to have a little bit of revenge there, but they're both going to lose in that situation, Finian, and I'm not sure I quite understand that because they both would have been 2nd and 3rd. I know it's a bit of a rough pass, but now they're both damaged and outside of the top 5, and I don't think either of them have a really good shot at winning this race anymore.
Yeah, no, I think I was going to say thank you very much. These two competitors just more or less, I guess, took each other out. So, yeah, they're not happy over the radio.
I can't imagine they would be, as you see James Miller with the damage on his car. But out front, you mentioned Nick and Delicato. That puts Nick Boyd in a great position because now he can focus on just one car ahead of him. That's the race leader. Curious to see if he can find some pace and start running this top guy down. Remember, Nick Boyd is not in the chase, not one of the blue names on our ticker, so that would put him in a great spot to run him down. Meanwhile, Frankenfield,
yeah, indeed. Yeah. That's the last thing you want is not being able to see where you're going.
I have a hard time feeling compassion because this is sort of self-inflicted here, so.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have to come down pit road and fix that because I'm sure he's not having a great time seeing right now. Running on board.
I would say so.
This is a home track race. Oh, car in the background off.
Oh!
Brent Miller at the exit of the carousel. That's a pretty common place that you see incidents, especially on this age of circuit with the lack of pavement runoff at the exit of this corner. Miller was just
gassed it up too early. You're going to see.
A little offline.
Back on the throttle.
I think he had just too much wheel in it. He just was, this is oversteer induced by understeer. Had too much wheel cranked in it, got back on the throttle and couldn't unwind fast enough, and that's what put him in that position. Meanwhile, for 4th place, Eisenmann and Race Clark, nose to tail. This is about to heat up.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, so we already seen one incident heading down into the bus stop, and for these guys, they got enough distance between each other to not have any incident, but Clark closing in. We're seeing pretty much a battle for the top 3 as Kolb's kind of been backing up into Eisenmann and Clark, and these guys are about to into battle here for the remaining podium position.
Levi Zielinski and James Miller battling for 11th spot, and I'm a little bit concerned because I would have thought that they would have dispatched the 97 by now, but that damage doesn't look that severe, but I guarantee you it's worse than it looks. Michael Goodman, trouble for him. This is over in the bus stop.
Yeah, trying to see what happened to him.
He's locked it up on entry. I think, here's another look here. Locked up, you hear the wheel hop, and just going to clobber the end of that wall and come to almost a dead stop. And finish it off in the gravel. Jeffrey Fisher a little slow out of turn 1. That'll let Matt Gruber get on through, and Gruber started all the way back in 14th. He's lapping slower than the race leaders, but fast enough to catch at least 2 or 3 of the drivers in front of him. So keep an eye out for the 54. As always, nothing new there.
Yeah, the thing I'm a bit surprised about with Gruber, I can understand him doing it on the ovals. I am a bit surprised that he does it on the road courses as well, because he did not win at Montreal. In fact, finished back and forth, just due to the fact that there's no cautions to really help him get up in front, and especially when you have some pretty fast drivers like in Delicato, like Mcboy, and even Miller and Frankfield before. It's kind of hard to chase them back down under green.
Chad Framefield car is still in the pit lane. You can see just how destroyed it is. That car is not going to be running very competitively for the rest of the night, I would imagine. So across the line, Nikon Delicato extends his lead now to nearly 6 seconds over Nick Boyd. Then Justin Kolb P3, Drew Eisenmann in 4th. And it's about to get hot here for 3rd place here. Finney and Kolb, Eisenmann, Clark, and Gruber all condensing on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of which, we didn't really talk about this. James Miller, he was 2nd in the point standings. He was only 9 points back behind Gruber, so that's going to hurt him quite a bit, all things considered, as he's now just trying to limp that car around back, all the way back to where he actually fell to.
12th place.
12th. So that's going to take a big hit to the points. So for our next car looking in 3rd place in the points is Kevin Finn. He's also having a decent day in 14th after starting all the way back in 23rd, has moved up halfway through the field.
Race Clark feeling the pressure from Grunberg here. We're only about 11 minutes into this race. We've already seen a lot of action as the 22 slips up on corner exit. Grunberg going to try to go the long way around. Not an easy pass to make here, but he'll try to cross over and maybe late apex this and get a run on the back straight. Here he comes.
Definitely got a better run than the 22. We'll see if Clark does give him some room here, or if he's going to still fight with the 54.
The braking zone here. Grunberg's going to run a little bit wide. That's a very narrow racing line, but now Race Clark has to give him space as they head into the right-hander in turn number 7. So move Grunberg up to P5. Right in front of them, you see Kolb and Eisenmann. Eisenmann having a look down into turn 1.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a look back down into turn 1, a little bit too far back to do so. We see him try to take a wider entry into the corner to get a better run off, but didn't really help him that much.
Out of front in Delicato, this is the dangerous thing for everybody else, is that he's so comfortable out here right now. He's not feeling any pressure. It's going to be, I don't think there's going to be any mistakes out of this car.
No, and actually he's the only car in running in the 115s. Everyone else is 116 or slower. So putting a really fervent pace right now, just expanding that 6.3 second gap he has.
Kolb and Eisenmann for 3rd place. Oh, big wobble at the exit of the carousel. That's always a tense moment when you correct it, because if you overcorrect, you're going to get that big tire wall that they moved. What was it now? 10 years
Whoa,
ago.
Kolb, keep on the brakes, is going to go flying off the track. In the penultimate corner, and like that, he's going to surrender.
Oh, no, he hits Race Clark.
Like,
Oh, man. Oh, that was a little clumsy there, Finian. That was not a good situation for either of those drivers. There's James Miller, who will grab a couple spots, but Kolb will get back rolling. I'm sure there will be some words here as well to rejoin right back into the racing line, and that's not the recommended way to do it.
No, it wasn't, especially for Race Clark. Nothing he could do. He effectively came out right on the edge there, and that's the racing line. Good to see here.
Yeah, nothing.
Nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, it's just a complete victim in that situation. That car likely totaled for the night. Real shame there. James Miller, though, got back by Levi Zielinski. I'm not totally convinced that this battle is complete, though. Levi passed him not too long ago. And the stricken 09 car definitely struggling more than he was at the beginning of the race when he had top 3 pace.
I'm sure he would have loved the caution, just to, if anything, just get fresh tires on that car and maybe a chance to reset, have a chance at getting back up through the order, or a better chance of getting up through the order. Well, ahead of him, Nathan Velez gonna go sideways out of the carousel, gonna save it, but drop 1, 2, maybe 3 spots as Tanner Sharple's trying to get past him. Tanner
Sharp's had a pretty quiet day. There's Levi Zielinski having a look at Miller. But Sharp started 11th. We haven't really seen him go forward very far, even with a couple retirements. So exactly the night that he was looking for. And he really needed some luck more than anything. Velez catching that almost spin at the exit of the carousel again. Not a good place to have it off. If you're going to have it, I'd rather have it here in turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, you see him, he ran a little bit wide, charged the corner, and a little bit too much on entry. Looking back, this is a battle for 16th place between Alex Boyd and Matt Hacketthorn in behind him.
Boyd has a run down into turn number 1. Going to leave the 84 some space. Through goes the 84. Plenty of racing room to be had there, and they'll complete that. That was for 16th position. Back up at the front.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Nick and Delicato, 8.3 seconds. I mean, is there a mercy rule here in 3 wide? Because I think Matt Gruber would have used it some, but I think Delicato's going to have to use it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think no one's really looking at touching him at the rate that they're pulling here. Only a quarter of the way through the race, so he can honestly just dial it back. He obviously is, and he's going to stretch his gap out as much as he can.
Here's a look. Here's a look at what this lead looks like. So here comes the race leader at the top of the hill. There's Nick. Now we have to wait 8.7 seconds for Nick Boyd. It is like an eternity for him to pop over the crest of the hill there. Now that's another 5.5 back for Drew Eisenmann, where he is there with Matt Gruber hunting him down. So some pretty large gaps in the lead here. As Gruber closes in on 3rd place Eisenmann.
And really trying to close in here through the bus stop. Nice and tidy for these drivers.
Yeah, I really do think that the people that can nail the bus stop at Watkins Glen's are Watkins Glen's plural version at Watkins Glen are the people that are going to be the quickest here. And I think Delicato has been doing such a good job of backing it up. I don't think you charge the bus stop at Watkins Glen. You're just going to kill your time on exit. And that exit is important because you have to carry so much momentum through the carousel. So, and Delicato's got a good line through there, and those that have been charging it are probably killing their exit speed and affecting their lap time more than they probably are aware they are.
Yeah, Gruber still closing into Eisenmann here. And I mean, at the rate he's going, he's looking like he might pull up to 2nd place. I think anything higher than that, trying to get to Delicato is going to be tough. You see him get deep on the brakes, going to come all the way to the back bump to 77. Eisenmann gets loose off of turn 1.
Well, to be able to catch the leader, you got to be faster than the leader, and Matt Gruber has not been. His best lap, how about this, is 9/10 slower than Nick and Delicato's best lap.
Yeah, I'm trying to look in practice practice too, when these guys effectively can just put in the fastest lap they want. In practice, Gruenberg was about 5/10 off in Delicato's fastest lap, and again, that's, you know, I would give Gruenberg a bone here and say that, you know, he's been in traffic, so hasn't really had the chance to set a really fast lap, and even then still is off the pace for just raw pace from in Delicato.
Levi Zielinski had another look at Miller, but Miller goes defensive. That's going to bring Tanner Sharp and Nathan Velez back into the fight, so a scrap for 8th place. We're going to go back to the one for 3rd place, though, because it's heating up.
Indeed it is, as these guys are getting close to each other. Whoa! Eisenmann going to get on the grass and almost spin in front of Gruber. He goes wide in the final corner. They don't make contact, though. That got really close.
That's a good save by Eisenmann. He actually protected pretty well from the over-under. Didn't charge turn 7 and compromise his exit. Did a nice job hanging on to it. Meanwhile, Tanner Sharp, Levi Zielinski.
They just made contact.
Whoa.
They're going to make contact again.
That's some Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch stuff right there as they come off turn number 7 down the front straightaway. Maybe having a bit of a spatial disagreement.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm trying to think. This is the first time these guys have been around each other. I guess just for Tanner Sharp, I think sent it too hard into the final corner.
They're not done yet, so I'm keeping the camera on him just in case as they head up the hill. Looks like Zielinski's going to hang on to the spot. Let's go back and see exactly how this began. And just out of our view there. Oh, yeah, I think Sharp just slides up the racetrack, and Zielinski just give him a little hello.
And actually for Zielinski too, he actually made a big mistake the lap prior on the exit of the S's. Hit the wall, I think, a little bit on the inside, or sorry, to the right side of the track, and landed up losing a spot to Miller and then also Nathan Velez.
Eisenmann and Gruenberg continue to battle for 3rd place. It's taking Matt longer than I thought it would. Now remember, Gruenberg's dominance has historically been on the larger tracks and you know, maybe some of the road courses, but he definitely has not been the dominant force on the road courses that he has been on some of the intermediates or the road tracks. So I guess it's not surprising that he's only running in 4th, and we make that sound like it's bad, but here comes Levi Zielinski hitting pit lane.
Yeah, he actually just went off the track in the penultimate corner, so I think might be just good. Decided to come in and get some fresh tires on that car and get back out there.
Or Lindsay right in front of 3rd and 4th place battle. And Lindsay is now 6 laps down after fixing some of the damage he had earlier in the day.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I would have thought, you know, the first time that Gruber caught up to Eisenmann, he had to back off because Eisenmann caught some of the grass, but I would have thought by now he would have gone on by. He's been getting close, but yeah, I can't imagine he's facing dirty air. These cars are relatively low aero wash compared to their modern counterparts.
I don't think the aero wash is an issue at all tonight, Finney. I think what it might be is that track temperature is so hot that getting grip is going to be difficult. Now, the track temp actually has come down, but this car doesn't have a lot of grip here in general, so when you throttle up, it really makes things difficult for you. As we see Nick Boyd hit pit lane at the 20-minute mark, it'll be his one and only pit stop.
Yeah, and going to take his pits up early, so interesting to see how this plays out overall. As the Gruenberg still on the back of that 77. Yeah, I guess you're right, especially, you know, you combine just relatively high track temps, and I think also tire wear too. I think it's going to definitely make it kind of difficult for these drivers to try to get a one-up on one another when they're too busy focusing on just making sure the car is going in the right direction. Yeah,
I think that's a lot. I mean, this is what you really see here is good racing. You see a lot of slipping and sliding and mistakes being made. It's not your typical car on a rail that we've been seeing at some of the ovals as of lately. So this car, you really have to manhandle around here, and that makes for mistakes. And especially when you're chasing, you have the distraction of the car in front of you, and when you're leading a group of cars, you have the distraction of your mirrors. So mistakes made a lot here often. You see the 77 drift out wide. That's going to open the door for Gruenberg on the exit of 5.
Yeah, you saw right there, was trying to get on the gas, the 54 was, and unfortunately got sideways doing so, and just perfect example of what we're talking about right there.
You can hear the throttle being applied very quietly, very gradually. Not just slamming it to the floor. It's like you got an eggshell under the pedal that you're trying not to break. Make sure that you got the grip under the tires at all times.
Sam Close almost hit the wall out of an ultimate corner. We see quite a few drivers go off of track there. As we look still at this battle between Gruber and Eisenmann here, getting really close to the S's.
Sam Close comes to pit lane. I guess after that scare, might make sense to come down, put Mr. Feelgoods on it as they crest the hill for the 18th time. Laps clicking away very quickly here as Gruber has a good run. Now on Eisenmann going to look 2 drivers right and tuck back and run.
Yeah, again, it's really hard to find a good passing opportunity. You could do it through here, but there's a high risk of, making contact with the other driver you're with. Yeah, we pretty much saw that earlier with Miller and Frankenfield. Speaking of which, Miller has climbed his way back up into 6th place, so all things considered, very solid climb back up the order.
And I think that the problem is that for at least in running competitively up inside the podium spots, that car damage seems pretty severe. He's definitely about a second. I mean, he's a second off of where the leaders are in lap time. So,
well, the leader, he's actually running on pace with Eisenmann, Groomer, Fisher, and everyone else. So he's not too significantly off the pace.
Guess we'll find out when he comes and hits pit lane. As these guys just refuse to let each other go. I think that Groomer's faster. I think that's clear. But Eisenmann's making Matt Groomer's job very difficult. To the point where I think it's probably frustrating Matt a little bit because he feels like he's wasting tire behind the 77, but nothing else he can really do other than try again.
Didn't really get a great run out of the S's there since he had to sit in behind again through the inner loop, and then I can imagine the carousel unless Eisenmann makes a mistake. Ooh, Groomer actually makes a mistake.
That's a pretty big one too. It's going to cost him a couple seconds. And go back and look at this from on board. It's just, is it a wheel hop scenario maybe? I mean, this happens a lot when you lock up the rear tires a little bit. Let's listen. You can hear the car skipping around a little bit, then just couldn't get it slowed down in time and ran a little wide on exit. He'll keep it on track and lose a second and a half, so not a huge deal, but definitely struggling with that car in the braking zones right now.
With an incident like that, does that signal, now is it now time to come to the pits?
I think so.
You guys
I mean, what you don't want to do is continue to make that mistake and lose more time. And we're well into the fuel window now. You could easily come down and make it to the end from here. So I don't see why you would stay out much longer if you're just going to keep making mistakes that cost you time.
Yeah, and especially considering, you're anyway going to have to come in. Ideally, you're going to want to come in the next 4 laps, cut it nicely in half. And this would, again, get him ahead of Eisenmann, who's been struggling to get by us. I think you can't underestimate, just being, whoa.
That was a big curb jump, and that's not a place you want to be on the curb there, Finian. That's not rumble strip. That is a 6-inch high concrete traffic city curb that they have there on the inside lane. And that will, that doesn't damage your suspension. It'll certainly throw your car sideways at a very high speed area.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you saw, I think that's another indicator. The tires are really starting to go. You are going to have to go longer on that second run, but I think, again, it's trying to look further up ahead. I think you should try to undercut Eisenmann just to get out ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I am really curious as to where Nick Boyd's going to pop back out in relation to Nick and Delicato, because I think he's going to be out in front. The problem is as soon as Nick and Delicato gets fresh tires on it, that lead is going to be very short-lived.
Yeah, indeed. Nick Boyd, for comparison, has just ran a 114.6 last lap through. Everyone else ahead of him is running in the mid-117s and 116s.
21 laps on the tires for the race leaders. They've dropped off, for Delicato, 2 full seconds from the best times that they've run so far. So, given the lead that Delicato had before, a 4 or 5 lap differential would be enough to give Nick Boyd the lead.
Get into the bus stop for these drivers. Looking at another battle brewing between Tanner Sharp and Nick Boyd. This will be interesting to see just the difference on tire.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty severe. As you can already see the gap closing as they exit the high-speed S's and the run down to the bus stop. And we're going to watch this from up above because you're just going to see how much time the 74 eats up on the 3 car through this area where you're losing a lot of the tire load. 3 car lengths now down to 2 as they exit the bus stop into the carousel. Now down to 1 car length.
Yeah, you can see right there with the corner, it's really demanding on the tires how much he closes in on exit. And gonna get a decent run here up, and sharp. I think he realizes that this is a losing battle, gonna let the 74 on by.
And no sense in fighting that fight right now. There's no point. Down into turn 1 now for the 22nd time. Eisenmann and Gruber continue their 2-car scrap. 20.4 seconds behind Nick and Delicato. The pit deltas are about 40 seconds. As, Gruber going to head to the inside here of Eisenmann, and that might be a pass for position. It is.
Yeah, Eisenmann just got a pretty poor exit out of turn 1, and Gruber saw an opportunity, finally presented itself and took it.
Kluster who's going to hit pit lane as Sam Close go around the outside, and he'll pick up that spot, put himself back in 11th. Nick Boyd up to 8th place. Dropped off pretty badly last time. He wondered if he made a mistake. He just ran a 15.8, which is pretty far off of where he was just a lap or two prior.
That might have honestly been, I don't see him make a mistake. That might have been him just being in behind the 3 or Tanner sharp.
A big time loss there. The question is, when does Delicato come into the pits, Vinny? I mean, halfway? You're just going to split this right in two?
He might as well. If I'm him, I don't try any funny business. Just come in, I guess, when you feel like it, really. And if he can extend, the tire life on this stint, more power to him, although it's going to get a lot more sketchy the further you go on these tires. For the most part, I can imagine that he's been conserving him at a decent rate as P2, 3, and 4 come into the pits.
All right, so a lot of drivers hitting pit lane now, and Delicato's got a car with fresh tires behind him. See the factoid there at the bottom of the screen. Won both races at Lime Rock, swept that evening, holding off Matt Gruber. Throttling out now. I wonder if he's to see those other drivers pitting, and if this will signal his go in. This would put him at about halfway if he pits right now, so I don't see why you wouldn't do this.
So we have to see here. If I was him, I would come in, considering most of the other competitors have, and I think I just heard him on the radio announce that he is.
Here he comes.
And here he comes.
Down at pit road speed. And now, where's Nick Boyd? About 40 seconds back, interestingly. You see him all the way on the other side of the course.
Yeah, so that actually might put him, the pit road delta being pretty much exactly 40 seconds. He actually might end up catching Nick Delicato, might take the lead. Yeah. We'll have to see here.
Now, the question is, can Nick Boyd, has he saved enough tire to even remotely stay out front? It won't even be close if he hasn't saved anything.
Oh, and Delicato through his stall. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I don't see the pit stop time going.
I don't either.
Okay, so I saw his speed come to a stop, and I saw the pit lane going, so I'm like, oh, he jumped through his stall. He didn't, he's fine.
Well, here's Nick Boyd, and Nick and Delicato is actually going to stay in the lead. That is just an incredibly strong evening for Delicato, and for Nick Boyd, that strategy is a bust.
Yeah, well, it was worth a try, I think, all things considered. I think, if anything, he needs to start getting more worried about Matt Gruber and even Drew Eisenmann, for that matter, as they're going to be working pretty hard to catch back up to him.
Well, you're not going to beat Nick any other way. It's going to have to be through strategy, and strategy didn't work out. They gave you your best shot. So where are Matt Gruber and Drew Eisenmann separated by 5.6 seconds? Eisenmann now has Sam Close behind him. Although Close is on 6-lap old tires, Drew Eisenmann has just come out of the pits, so that should be a growing differential between those two cars.
Richard Hines in second place. He just announced he's coming into the pits at a relatively uneventful day in that 87 car.
Started back in 8th. He's been up inside the top 10 for most of the day. But as you mentioned, not a lot going on in the 87 camp this evening, and sometimes on a road course, that's a good thing. You just got to keep it on the pavement, and generally you'll have a pretty decent day. Ooh, Kevin Finn really charged the entry to pit lane. I think he got it mowed down in time, though.
I mean, honestly, not particularly at this track, but in general, if you can make up time on pit road entry, you definitely need to do so, although it's a fine line between making up time and getting a pit road penalty.
The long pit road. The other thing that people don't really know about the pit road here, or don't pay attention to, is how steeply downhill it is. It's a pretty severe slope down into turn 1, and if you're not watching your revs, you could very easily speed exiting pit lane here.
Which I have done before. I forgot what race it was in. It was in I completely forgot what it was. But yeah, I was just, applying the same amount of gas that you typically would on a flat pit road. But unfortunately, as the curve starts to go, you pick up speed, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to get a black flag.
That's how they get you. So as we just passed the halfway point here, Nick and Delicato leads the way, and he has led 24 of the 24 laps that we've run today.
Just a really impressive pace. No one really looking like he'll catch him at the moment. Looking back at Kevin Finn in the 14th car, getting started all the way tail end of the grid in 23rd. The boot as high as I think 3rd place. So when he came to the pits, now currently running in 9th.
It's closing in on Richard Hines and the 87 car. Hines just came out of the pits, but so did Kevin Finn. So this should be a pretty apples to apples comparison here between the pace of these two Fords. Take a look at the weather information here. Track temp continues to drop, Finney, and I'm a little bit surprised to see this. I would have thought we would have seen the temperature rise. But this is going to make the fall off a little bit less severe, and for Nick and Delicato, that's a good thing because he just ran his best lap, a 1:13.775.
Yeah, you can just see, you just saw it there on the screen, drop from 101 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, again, that's just going to make it better and better. And indeed, there's actually a bit of cloud cover over in turns 1 and 2, and in the S's, you see Delicato get by Frank Sims to the pits.
Looking from up above, you can see all on basically this side is all clouds, this side is all sun. And that's going to make the cars handle very differently because you will see and you will feel the differences in 3 to 5 degree temperature swings. So I'm sure the drivers are struggling with that a little bit down through the carousel, especially and getting launched onto the back straight. Red car at the bottom of the screen. I think that's Justin Kolb and Matt Hacketthorn. Kolb's day going downhill after the collision that he had earlier. Matt Hacketthorn has a pretty clean-looking race car. Just hasn't had a whole lot of pace. 18th to 13th, not a bad day, and just not a stellar one by any stretch.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate. You know, I'm actually a bit surprised. I would have thought to see him a little bit higher up the order, but inside the top 10. But I mean, he's knocking on the door. He'll be able to get one more spot if he can get past Cove. But I can't imagine Cove's car is doing terribly good with the amount of front end damage to that machine. Whoa, you see him just get loose out of the corner.
Hacketthorn second-guessed the throttle application there as well, so I don't think his car is quite where he wants it either. Into turn number 1, the 90. And a lot of people think that running wide here is the faster line. Yeah, maybe in a very slow car it is. In a stock car, you do not want to go on the exit of this curb here. It will just kill your momentum up the hill. So you want to make it neat and tidy. And really the braking zone is actually, there's a caution light mounted on the wall on the front straightaway. And that's really your braking point. There are braking markers. If you try braking there, you're going to miss the turn by a country mile. So look in the background. You see Kluster, who is having a look at Nick Miller. That's a pass for 14th.
We'll just blow on by Nick Miller, not also one of the drivers not having a particularly good day. You see Kluster's got a bunch of grass on the exit of the bus stop.
Well, they're fighting also for lead lap position because Nick and Delicato is coming and coming fast. I'm not sure it's going to matter. No cautions really to speak of. Still fighting to stay on the lead lap regardless.
Looking back at second place, Nick Boyd, in a few laps time, he's going to have to start worrying about Matt Grunberg. Nick Boyd ran 1:16 flat last time by, grew to Gruber's 1:14.7. So Grunberg catching him at a fervent pace. We'll get there in about 5 or so laps time.
Here's Jeffrey Fisher. We haven't talked about him at all. His teammate in 09 was a driver we thought could have won this race. Fisher started 7th up to 6th. Not seeing the pace out of this car we might have expected either, but again, he's actually leaning on 5th place Sam Close here in just a moment.
And we'll see, it should be in Fisher's advantage. Close came in 10 laps ago into the pits. Fisher 5 laps ago for him, so has fresher tires to work with.
Hacketthorn and Kolb for 12th, bit of a bobble there for the 52. You see Delicato in the background has gotten by. The 9 car of Nick Miller now sets his sights on Klusterhuis in the 14th position in the 94 car.
Really doesn't matter. I think he's probably having fun with just trying to see how many cars he can put a lap down. We'll see how high his total gets.
Look at Jeffrey Fisher popping out of line, just distracting Sam Close a little bit, making him glance up in the mirror, see if he can make him make a mistake. Didn't look like Sam Close bit. Still got a pretty solid line through the bus stop. Big slip up and a slide at the exit of the corner, though. That's going to bring Fisher right to the rear tailpipes.
There's a chance for Fisher to try to get a bag. You see him there take a later apex in the carousel as Close gets some grass, goes wide, and Fisher going to have a great run now, and I think this is going to be all done here by the time he gets to penultimate corner.
Yeah, and Close just tucks in line. There's James Miller back in 7th place. Pit 6 laps ago, so he should be able to easily catch Sam Close. Still not the day that he needed after the collision with Chad Framefield early in the race. Miller and Kluster, who's through the S's. They were side by side. They'd gotten resorted. I wonder if there was something that happened on the 94 for him to drop off that much.
Yeah, typically I don't see passing the S's occur normally.
There's a look. He just runs wide at the exit of 1. That's what I was talking about. Kills momentum.
Keep watching. Keep watching here. He's going to come up through the bottom and through the top.
Oh, whoa, big slide. Oh, that's a clencher right there.
If you want to look at the TV3 camera, you can get a much better angle.
Oh my goodness, and he did catch the wall slightly. I think he took off the clear coat on the right side quarter panel, but I think he's gonna need some clear coat for the undergarments as well after that scrape up. You're doing well north of 120 miles an hour there. In a stock car, it's not handling at its best at that particular location.
I will say I've taken a Formula 1 car around here. Getting loose at the top of the S's is terrifying. Because you know, these guys are going pretty fast, 120, try going 170 through there. It is stupidly fast.
Yeah, they put a chicane there. I see Nick Boyd hit pit lane. Is this making this a 2-stopper maybe?
Oh, that's odd.
Well, wasn't going to win doing what he was doing, so maybe give this a try. What I was saying is they actually put a chicane in the bottom of the S's back in the 80s, and it was, if I can draw, it was roughly right about here. And the cars would come up the hill, and they'd basically go around a little curb here. And that was the worst invention ever, and they got rid of it shortly after. But basically it was to stop messes happening right basically at the top here. When you're traveling at about 150, 160 miles an hour in a 1970s or 80s Formula 1 car, this wall becomes very dangerous very quickly. And a rash of very bad accidents through there, including the death of Francois Sever in 1976, I want to say. It wasn't pretty, we'll just say that.
Looking at James Miller just getting past Sam Close, so Miller moves himself up into 5th place.
So you know what? I actually don't hate this idea. So Nick Boyd just came out of the pits. He's got fresh tires. He's going to get at least 2 spots back. I don't think this is a horrible idea. I think this is worth trying. There's still a long way to go, right? And Delicato's done pitting. Everyone else is done pitting. They're going to be 2 or 3 seconds off the pace as Tanner Sharp goes around in the carousel.
Oh.
Was a multi-car incident here, or if this was just self-induced? Oh, just got burned in too early. Caught the inside curb and it just slowly tank slapped around.
Yeah, I think just put too much wheel and entry too early, and again, really unfortunate. And sometimes these cars, especially on older tires, you get loose in the weirdest of places, and that was a situation for Tanner Sharp.
So back to Nick Boyd. Do I think he's going to finish 2nd? No. Do I think this is worth trying? Sure. He's not in the chase. What does he have to lose?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit surprised because I would have said, he would have had, a solid 3rd or 4th going for him, but curious to see how this is going to play out. He gets past there by the 75 of Frank Sims, who's a lap car back in 19.
I just like this because it puts him on the offensive. You get to attack a bit more. You're not constantly worrying about blowing your tires off and having someone chase you from behind.
I will say, though, by the fact that he did pitch so early, that I think that kind of played his hand as well, and I'm guessing, again, that was the plan, to pit every 20 minutes, so we'll see how this is going to play out here. He's caught up to Richard Hines' position for 8th place. He's going to have a look at the inside. Doesn't he dive into the penultimate corner?
Well, Hines isn't really on the oldest tires in the field there, so basically Hines and Finn are on 8-lap-old tires, and it's Sam Close with the oldest on the racetrack, and then it's the top 5 all have 10 laps. And actually, Sam Close, or Jeffrey Fisher, he's around in turn number 1.
Oh, no.
And I'm actually surprised it took this long to have an incident down here, because this is a very popular place in the real world. for issues to happen. Just wheel hops it. This is what.
Yeah, classic.
This is exactly why iRacing is the most realistic simulator out there, Finney, because, oh, Sam Close almost got into him there. This is exactly what you see in the real world. The exact same scenario. Locking up the rear tires and going for a slow, lazy spin in turn one. You see this all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we were in the Arca race especially, I think there were quite a few guys that had some trouble.
I just always think it's odd. I'm surprised we don't see it more, because in the real world, the amount of incidents that you have in turn one is about triple everything else on the rest of the racetrack.
Yeah, Justin Kolb just had a very interesting exit out of turn one. Didn't get sideways, got really close to it though.
Have a look. I'm gonna jinx everybody talking about turn one now, but he just comes in a little bit hot, tracks out a little wide, gets over the curb, the car gets light. Yeah, pretty common thing there as well. But again, that corner, I don't see people struggle with it as much in iRacing as I would suspect, looking at the real world races. Just because in real life, it's where all the spins happen.
Battle for 7th place brewing between Mcboy and Kevin Finn. Again, the tires really helping him get back up through the order. He's going to make Kevin Finn go wide on exit, though, as Boy tries to get some traction. Not enough, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he's okay being a little bit patient here. He knows he's going to get by Kevin Finn, the last driver on tires that are less than 10 laps old. But you can just see the drive that he gets in the S's alone is going to be enough to complete this pass.
Finn will back off. No, they're both going to try to outbrake one another. Oh, there's a spin in the bus stop. It's Goodman off the track.
Team in the background there as the field comes through. I thought that Nick Boyd was going to have that pass complete, but clearly didn't have quite a good enough run. Let's go back and see what happened to Goodman. Is there a touch? Oh, he just, again, locked up the rears. Jeffrey Fisher just escaped that.
I want to see that off the back bumper, that 0.6, because, man, that was close.
Whew. Not as close as you want it to be. Fisher again loose out of turn 7. There you see Boyd still fighting with Finn. He's got to get this over with. Finn's giving him sort of a hard time.
And you see he's going to try to pull in, get a little bit of a run down deep on the brakes. He's going to try to outbrake the 14. He's able to slow down in time.
Yeah, a bit of a lock-up. Charge the corner to get that pass done, and going to have to sort of block off Finn. I think Finn knows it was going to have to happen, though, so he'll give it up now. At the front of the field, Nikon Delicato, with 15 minutes to go, he has led every single lap that we've completed so far.
Whoa, spin out on the exit of the S's. Does Jeffrey Fisher around?
Oh, yeah, he instantly jumped out of that car. Which we tell drivers not to do because we can't go back and look at their... I think he's just trying to stay out of the way here, but... Oh, that was a really weird incident. Right in front of Nick Boyd and Kevin Finn. Or just sort of steps out here, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, this is, you know, what happened to me when I would try to, you know, test the low downforce configuration of the Cup car. You just get out the top here. Just no real grip as you're working to the right-hander.
Oh yeah, he was off throttle and just this, wow, big hit. Slightest overcorrection. That's all it takes. It's a fast area on the racetrack. It's very daunting in the real world. I've driven up it at about 70 to 80 miles an hour, and that's plenty fast for me. it's a little, you've been there too. Those walls close in pretty quick. Nick Boyd's crusade forward now sets his sights on Sam Close, who is still about a half a second off his pace. And that was kind of a slow lap for Nick, so I imagine we'll see a bigger differential this time through.
Yeah, I would say if he can get into the top 5, I would say, you know, job well done as far as this call. And I think that should be relatively easy with a difference in tire life, 5 to 18 with Sam Close.
Matt Grunberg running pretty quick laps here, Finney, and last time by was still 2/10 off in Delicato. But even if it's not a win, his point situation is going to continue to be a whole lot better than everybody else's.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, especially with Miller not particularly having a good day. He's still going to rebound for 4th, which is definitely really good considering he got rear-ended pretty hard. Looking back in behind him, Kevin Finn, 3rd place in the standings, is running in 7th, and Eisenmann having a decent day in third, but again, none of these guys topping Gruber except for Delicato, but Delicato only back in ninth, 27 points back from Gruber.
Sam Close, top 5 run for him today. This will be a pretty good run, Finian. 17th to 5th, plus 12. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, so I'm trying to check out what was his best finish this season so far. And he's finished in the top 5 3 times. In fact, 2 of those times was at Lime Rock.
Kind of the road course top 5 ace this year. Not quite what Delicato's been managing. Again, the 2 wins at Lime Rock Park back-to-back, and then a second at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve a few weeks ago. And pretty much to almost lock out the road courses is a really phenomenal feat. And how's Nick doing in the points situation? Where's he at?
In Delicato?
Yes.
Back in 9th.
Okay, so a little ways back.
27 back, yeah, he's pretty far back. And again, we were talking about it at Richmond too. When he was in the lead, he needed to do really well there, and was looking like it until his incident down into turn 1. And you know, if he ended up winning the race or finishing second, he could have been knocking on the door of Grunberg, but unfortunately, again, not meant to be. Again, I still think he'll be at least somewhat satisfied with a win here.
Wins cure all. I think when you come into a chase and you got guys like Grunberg and Miller that are that good, I think you sort of know that the writing's on the wall, that it might not be a championship year, so all you can really do is rack up wins and put your name out there and hopefully continue the success that you had earlier in the season. Here's Justin Kolb and Nick Miller. This is for position. Kolb and Miller into turn number 1, and Kolb really struggling with understeer. He runs wide again. And Miller was tidier, and you can see how much he closes just by staying 2 drivers right of that curb.
Slow climb through the SEC. Kolb way offline in comparison to Miller, who's been able to make up a few tenths here and there over the 52. He's just trying to hang on to that car at this point.
Into the bus stop where you can sort of make up. This is where, if you've got a damaged race car, this is a place where you can make up time, because you can just sort of float the car through here. And your downforce doesn't matter. You see Nick Miller kind of make a slight mistake that'll drop him off the tail of the 52, at least for a few laps.
Yeah, got too much curb when he was exiting the bus stop, and that almost sent him into the wall.
But no other major battles forming on the racetrack right now. We've sort of hit kind of an equilibrium at this time.
There is one starting to close up. That's for third between Eisenmann and James Miller. Miller was 5/10 faster last lap alone, so still some speed in that 09 machine.
He's definitely got that car at least somewhat repaired. He didn't spend that long on pit lane, so I think it was just more getting out of the rhythm earlier that cost him all the time, maybe not crash damage.
Yeah, I think once you adjust, even with the damage you have, I think once you start to adjust, it definitely helps you out quite a bit. You get into your groove again, and I think Miller's in that groove and looking at getting a podium. As we say that, though, he runs wide in turn 1.
Turn 1 is just one of those frustrating places where as soon as you hit the brakes, you know if you're going to make the corner or not. And Miller, I think as soon as he went to the brake pedal, he knew that wasn't going to work out. So he didn't panic and lock it up, just let it float out to corner exit and gave up a little bit of time, but he should be able to make it back.
Yeah, he has a bit of time. Whoa! A little bit sketchy there on the exit of the S's, but it has a bit of time to work with on Eisenmann, as next time by, they'll have 8 laps to go.
Running down to the last 9 minutes of action here at Watkins Glen. Again, it's been hosting races in the New York State area since 1958 and even longer, since late 1940s when World War II ended. It was a couple of years before we saw any racing happen. The first race post World War II was held in the streets of Watkins Glen, New York, and eventually became too dangerous for spectators in the streets. So just like Wisconsin, where Road America was, where they used to race in the streets at Elkhart Lake, they banned racing on the streets and they moved to this plot of land a couple miles southwest of the town, and to this day remains one of the best auto racing facilities. Here's Kolb and Miller for 12th, and Matt Gruber in second place is going to try to drive right by him. He's going to get a great run here on Route 9. It's a matter of getting off
again, no real rush for Gruber. He's got 20 seconds in Delicato up the road, and then 13 on back to Eisenmann. And speaking of Eisenmann, Miller starting to close back up yet again.
The S's onto the back straightaway now, 165 plus miles an hour into the brakes. Watch, this is where Miller's so good. Floats it in. Not even using a lot of curb. There's still time on the board here for him to grab if he needs it.
Yeah, he did a great job setting up the second half of that bus stop. And we're talking about, again, just not charging too much on entry, and you can get a really solid exit. We saw right there with Miller made up a huge amount of time.
Well, I think, again, you can use those curbs and jump 4 tires over them every single lap. And it's a little bit risky to do so, but there is time to be gained. If you're not doing that and you're still running fast,
whoa,
big slide there for him out of turn 6. If you're still running fast and not using the curbs, that just tells me that you got it figured out.
Yeah, Miller in the corner there. You saw just got on the gas too early. I think saw an opportunity with Eisenmann running wide, hit the gas too early, and then almost spun the thing. So still seeing these guys having to be very careful on the throttle here, even in this closing stage, of which is hard to do because, you know, your instinct is try to get on the gas as fast as you can, but if you do so, you find yourself almost spinning out half the time.
Run up the hill into the S's. Rhythm section again. Pull the car to the right, then back to the left, aim for the end of the white curbing. And let the car float out to the Armco wall and then just breathe on the throttle. Make sure you're not losing the rear tires and burning those up as you rocket towards the bus stop. And again, just watch how smooth Miller is through here.
Yeah, it's really good on the back part of the course, especially the carousel as well. Seems taking a much tighter line than the 77.
Really cool shot. You can see how much that corner actually descends downhill. You don't really feel it when you're driving it, but looking at it from above or when you're there in the real world, you really get a sense of how much, it's about half a story that the corner falls from one side to the other. 77 a little bit loose, and again, Miller fighting the car as he looks to driver's left, door slams, backs it up, tries again, driver's right in turn 7.
Trying to get a good run out of the final corner, not able to get to the gas as early as he would like. Has the potential, though, of trying to peel off and make a dive down into turn 1. Eisenmann starting to go a little bit defensive down into there, but they're still going to be single file.
Now setting up with about 5 minutes to go. There's time left for Miller to execute this. There's no point in rushing it and doing something silly. You see the 77 struggling in the low grip area, so you just wait to pounce in a better spot.
Yeah, and again, I think at this point it's really sketchy to make a pass into the bus stop.
It's always sketchy to make a pass to the bus stop, and they've widened this out a little bit with some additional curbing in recent years. But in this variation, it's pretty tricky to make a pass down here. You can do it, but it's one of those situations where you better be past by the time you get to the first bend. Nowadays, you can, as long as you complete it before the left-hander in the bus stop, you're good. You still have that right-hander that you can use. And iRacing, as it stands, you got to be done before you make that right hand into the bus stop.
Yeah, for Miller, a big mistake through there. Just got too much curb.
That's the danger, right?
Exiting.
It's what you want to use some of that to help your car rotate and help it, you know, string that through there. But if you're too aggressive with it, you can cost yourself time. 4.5 minutes to go now as Eisenmann continues to hold off Eisenmann and or Miller, I should say. Eisenmann's been doing a great job defensively driving today, all around.
Yeah, it hasn't overdriven the car even with the 09 of Miller in behind him. It's just stuck to his own line, has not made a mistake. And Miller, if anything, has been the one making the mistakes.
Usually it's easier to pressure someone into a mistake from behind, but Eisenmann's somehow managing to do it from out front, which is a skill I would like to have.
Yeah, I think Miller is has been starting to overdrive as he's caught up to the 77, who gets a little bit too aggressive on the curb there. He's going to try to chuck it up though through the inside of the carousel.
Here he comes, side by side through the carousel. Right side tires in the dirt, couldn't get acceleration though, and Eisenmann will re-clear the 09.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to happen with Eisenmann again. With the tires as worn as they are, if they were on fresh tires,
they're going to touch.
Won it.
Oh, that was so close into turn number 6.
Working through the final series of corners now to the final corner. I think Miller needs to start prioritizing his exits more. I think that's where Eisenmann's been beating him, and to that respect, Miller's just not been able to get on by or even set up a pass.
Eisenmann's Driving in really hard into turn number 1, though. Miller up on the curb. Great acceleration out of turn 1. Did a good job getting through the gears here. Now he's waiting on the 77. Eisenmann's definitely holding him up. It's just a matter of where you catch him, and that was the wrong place to catch him. Didn't time it right.
Yeah, I had to back off just to make the corner. You used to still see him getting loose. And to the bus stop again.
Running through here, single file. Just setting up, and I think Miller's going to go for this over-under into the carousel again. Or wasn't quite as wide open that time. Just a sliver.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Now you see him now trying to go a little bit wider, come back down on exit, but oh, no grip to work with though.
It's hard to make that over-under move or move work in the carousel. You can do it, but I would typically see that more in a sports car where you've got more grip to work with. In a car like this, you're just going to spin tires. 2 minutes to go, so 2 laps to go for Delicato when he comes back around. For these guys, it should be 3. Big slide for Miller. That's going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, and again, we were talking about earlier, he had a bit of a buffer to work with. He's starting to run out of time now with 3 laps to go. So he's got to start getting on the loud pedal now because time is ticking down.
Delicato, where is he? He's on the back straightaway coming to 2 laps to go, a 20-second lead. Nick Boyd is a couple seconds out from Sam Close. That would put him back inside the top 5, but we're going to go back to the fight for second place.
Again, working on the back straightaway. Decent run off the corner for Miller. And again, I think he was so good in this part of the track, and I think he's kind of lost his groove through here. Makes up a huge amount of time, gets all the way up to the back on the 77. Does he look up the inside again? He's going to look up the outside now.
He's going to try to cross him under again. I think I like what he's doing here, because what he might be trying to do here, Finian, is make the 77 predict that he's going to go left every time, and then let the 77 get comfortable with that idea, and then next lap he's going to try to go underneath him through the carousel. I think that's sort of the plan, unless he can force something down in turn 1, but I don't even really like turn 1 as a passing zone this late in the race when you have no tire left, because it's hard to get drive off if you're on driver's right. Whoa! He's driving it. That's why we like road course racing. Requires a right foot to do something other than go to the firewall.
Yep, and 2 laps to go for these drivers.
Down into turn 1. A great battle between these two. We thought Miller would be up towards the front doing this with Delicato, but he is now fighting for a podium.
Trying to have a look there on the at the top of the S's, wasn't able to get it done.
Bit of a wiggle, wiggle for the 77. Miller's right there now as they head to the bus stop. Will he have a look to the inside? He's going to stay behind now as they head into the bus stop and into the carousel. There's a bit of a touch there. Now will the 09 try driver's right? No, he's going to stay in line. Meanwhile, race leader Nick Delicato has taken the white flag.
Yeah, 1 more lap to go for him. So a lap and a half for these drivers as they work.
Oh, he's going to be out of control. Oh, that was almost it for the 09, but that's probably it for a podium run. Just slid up a little bit too much. Let's have a quick look. Just got the grass. He's been getting a little greedy on exit. Did a good job hanging on, but that's going to cost him dearly.
Yeah, almost spun it again in the penultimate corner. He's still trying to push to get back to Eisenmann. Maybe he had one more shot.
Well, Delicato, he's going to give no one more shot. He swept road course races in the early part of the season, rounds 3 and 4 from Lime Rock Park, the doubleheader we had there. A few weeks ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada, he went out to that race and finished in 2nd. But I don't think 2nd was in the vocabulary for Delicato tonight. And in Watkins Glen, New York, it seems like it's always the rural towns and the big cities for Nick Delicato. Nothing in between. Nothing in between him and a checkered flag for another time this season. He's going to come out of the final corner. Checkered flag. Race win at Watkins Glen for Nick Delicato.
Yeah, for Delicato will be his third, or sorry, that his 4th win of the season. We look back at Miller and Eisenmann. Miller trying to catch back up to Eisenmann. I think, again, that mistake last lap just gave him way too much time.
Not much there for them, as they've only got 2 corners left. Eisenmann did a great job, a stellar job, holding off James Miller. Car off in front of them, that's the 52 of Justin Kolb, who's back in 13th, a lap down as they come through the final corner. And Drew Eisenmann does basically just wrote the book this afternoon on how to drive defensively and not make mistakes. He comes home third, Miller in fourth, and Sam Close in the 5 car. Solid 5th place run at his Nutter Butter Dodge.
Absolutely, and Eisenmann and Miller congratulating each other on both having a stellar drive for Nick Boyd. I still don't think, I think you might have been better off sticking with the strategy, or if not pitting later on his first stop. He's going to finish in 6th.
Yeah, and I didn't hate the idea. I didn't hate the strategy. I don't think it quite worked out how he or I thought it was going to work out. Sort of stalled the run there towards the end, finishes in 6th. Still a top 10 run, though, nothing to be upset about, just not quite as good as it may have been otherwise. So, take a look at our race results here in just a moment. Before we head to break, we'll bring you race winners. Delicato out of New York, a home track race for him. And he brings it home. And Grunberg in 2nd, Eisenmann 3rd, Miller 4th, and Sam Close in 5th. Disappointing day for Chad Framefield. Sort of a self-inflicted issue there, though, Finian. Back when he got roughed up into the bus stop, let the emotions get the better of him and prevented both those cars from having a chance at winning.
Yeah, I think even a driver that he'd be even more disappointed than him is James Miller, the driver he hit, because Miller did a fantastic job of driving up through the order. Even though he didn't get 3rd place at the end, still drove up from around 10th, I think was where he finally came back out on the track and drove his way up into 4th place, which is a really solid job. And I think honestly had a really good chance of taking the win away from Delicato. He was running up there with him before that incident happened.
We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be back with you for interviews in just a moment. Welcome back live to Sim TV in the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division from Watkins Glen, New York. James Miller in the 09 won this race in the Super Late Models about a couple months ago. Had a good start, but there was the scuffle with the 15 car there. He got let the emotions get the better of him and sort of ended the run for both of you guys for the race win. But you got to be pretty happy with grabbing a 4th place result after all that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy with the comeback that I was able to do. I drove the wheels off that car. Not really sure how mechanically that happened, but I was down on horsepower after he rear-ended me, which really sucked, but gave me a lot more corner speed, and I was really working with that, so really fought back to get up to battling with Drew for 3rd, which it actually capped off the night because that was a lot of fun trying to pass him, trying to figure it out. I guess I showed my hand a little too soon. He started to block the carousel, so I couldn't really find anywhere to go. But yeah, disappointing with what happened earlier on. Not really exactly sure who was at fault there. I felt like I had the inside, and I guess he felt like he had the lane to himself. So a little disagreement there, but we'll get past it. We're capable of continuing on and try to reel in Matt with his huge point lead now.
All right, well, James Miller finishes 4th at Watkins Glen. Next week, we'll see you at Talladega, James. Good luck.
All right, thank you, guys.
Moving on now to Drew Eisenmann, who, as far as I'm concerned, the drive of the day, defensively holding off James Miller those last 15 or so laps. Drew, walk us through your race because you had a pretty good one. Started up in 6th, finished in 3rd, so podium, top 5, and a great defensive drive. Walk us through that battle there with James at the end.
I had battled Grunberg earlier and kind of learned where to be conservative and where they couldn't pass you, so you could get a good run off, like through the carousel, through the S's, right? Just make sure you can get a good launch off. And I just drove the crap out of it. I don't know. I I'm as proud of that drive as any, regardless if it's for, P1 or P3. So I'm really happy with the performance today. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for the 54.09 for racing me clean, because I know I was racing them hard, and they could have just put the bumper to me, but I appreciate that they didn't.
We head to Talladega next week, and the restrictor plate races are always interesting. But I think in this car in particular, the last time we were out there at Daytona, it was quite the event. Your thoughts on moving from a road course to Talladega next week, and how do you think that's going to go?
I hope it's going to go well. Daytona was a blast with these things, despite it's really hard to bump draft. So hopefully everybody kind of learned from that. But I had a blast at Daytona. I think it was really exciting. Usually Talladega's no less exciting. So really looking forward to it. It's it's the wild card of the playoffs. So hopefully we can maximize on it, close that gap to the points lead, and set ourselves up well for the rest of the championship.
All right, Drew Eisenmann, third place podium result tonight. Drew, congratulations. Nice run out there. We'll see you next week.
Wow.
Moving on now to second place, Matt Grunberg. Matt, it's not often that we're talking to you not in the winner's circle, but this week, second place. Not bad after starting in 14th. But a good run up to the front. Maybe a caution or reset would have put you in a better position. Just walk us through your night, because it seemed like it was relatively quiet for you up inside the top 5.
Yeah, road courses aren't really my cup of tea. I think this is about the only road course that I can actually tolerate. I don't really enjoy going to road courses outside of this one. So yeah, I just kind of came in with the mindset of having just a clean race, keeping it on track, and wherever I end up, hopefully a top 5 would have been good, and we ended up getting second. So all in all, that was great. It kind of sucks that the 15 and the 09 got together early. I think it would have been a little bit tighter battle for the lead, and then I agree with you. If we could have got a caution there with 20 minutes to go, that would have made it a little bit more exciting too. But yeah, all in all, it was a good night. Just maintain the points lead here. I don't think Nick gained too much, so we'll move on from here.
Well, we talked about the points lead. We head to Talladega next week. That's a big question mark. What's the strategy next week? It seems like you always kind of linger in the back and find your way to the front. Is there anything different going on this week on your team headquarters, or is it just sort of same old, same old?
Yeah, you definitely called it. I think you've been watching plenty of my super speedway races to know that the plan is always to just hang around the back and make sure we're there for the end. Nothing different this time, especially with the new bumper hooks. This will be the first time we're going to a super speedway and with the new damage model, and I anticipate maybe a few cautions from maybe a few big cautions from the bumper hooks. So we'll see how it goes. Same strategy as normal.
All right, Matt Grunberg, second place tonight. Matt, congrats. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you.
Nick and Delicato. Wins at Lime Rock earlier in the season, back-to-back. That told me that you knew what you were doing on a road course. You come out to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve a couple weeks ago, finished second there. You come here tonight, it wasn't even close. Absolute domination at your home track, I believe, as well. You're out of New York, so that's got to feel pretty good.
Yes, home track. Yeah, I go here every year, which is pretty cool. Hoping to go this year, but
me too.
Yeah, maybe we can meet up. But absolutely. Yeah, no, I tried limiting mistakes. Last week, I got in my own head so bad, and it just right hooked it into the wall. But road course, Watkins Glen, home track, and I'm pretty decent here, so it was pretty good redemption.
Well, last week at Richmond, things didn't quite go the way you needed to. You got involved in that collision at the front of the field that took out what could have been a really good points night for you. As you head to Talladega, Matt Grunberg seems like he's got a strategy figured out. What is yours? Because you got to start making up some big points on that 54 to have a run at him for the championship. Anything special next week or same old?
It's Talladega, so I don't really want to go too hard and go to the front, especially with the new damage model. You can't really bump draft. When I got turned at Charlotte, you kind of saw that the front bumpers just get hooked under people, and Dega's going to be pretty hectic. So I'm probably going to lay in the back, but when it comes to the final 10 or so, I'm definitely going to be aggressive because I at least want a shot at the win.
All right, hey, Nick, congratulations. A really strong run tonight. We'll see you at Talladega next week in Alabama. Good luck out there at the Super Speedway.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. That's going to do it for the interviews tonight. And we just had a 60-minute event at Watkins Glen fitting in this place, even with, not an enormous field. And we still had a pretty entertaining race. And at least you get to watch the guys drive the cars a little bit, slide them around. That's the fun part about tracks like this.
Yeah, definitely, especially with this older style of, former what used to be the Cup car. And really fun to just see these guys slide around, manhandle these cars, especially that battle between Miller and Eisenmann in the closing laps, them just trying to outdrive one another. It was fantastic stuff to watch.
All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. You're going to see us tomorrow. For the first time in a really long time, I'm going to be doing a Fuel Premier Series race from where are we? Chicago tomorrow night with the Class B Xfinity Series cars. First time I've been on one of those broadcasts in a very long while, so excited to get back to that group. Wednesday will be Redenzo Sports Car Challenge from Road America, the National Park of Speed. Thursday, what do we got going on Thursday? I've got SCCA Esports Super Tour action on the SCCA official channel. That will be live at 9 p.m. We'll be headed off to, where are we this week at? I don't even know off the top of my head.
Laguna Seca.
Oh, yeah, WeatherTech Raceway. No. Yep, that's right.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. No, Sonoma.
That's what I thought.
I think. We're going to be at some track on Thursday at 9 p.m. And then Friday, we've got DC region action. They'll be at Silverstone. So that'll be a 60-minute event. And then on Saturday, we got Outsider Racing League continuing from Daytona. And I think that'll be a Corey Silva and PTR TV production on Saturday night. And then Sunday, we're off and we'll be back with more action next week from Talladega. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll